Welcome to week 3. Honestly, this week has been a bit of a reality check. I spent half the week dealing with the rejection of the sales app that I've been building, and the other half trying to remember why I actually coded the clinical software. It's forced me to ask some hard questions of myself, and the biggest one is, am I just building tools or am I actually solving problems? It's kind of been that rejection that's pushed me to completely rethink my main project, Clinify, which is my AI note-taking software for doctors and patients. I realize I've been looking at AI medicine all wrong, and I think across the board too. Specifically though, for the AI in my medical setting, it's not about faster notes, it's about a totally different artifact. Here's the breakthrough I think I had this week. AI assistants for note-taking for doctors are everywhere nowadays. There's a few big competitors in the field, and I've been working really hard on my own version of the same thing. I've tried to realize, specifically this week, why none of them are edging out ahead of each other, why none of them are kind of becoming the go-to service for all of us. They all do a lot of cool things, but I just feel in my gut like they're not solving the real problem. So for the Clinify thing that I've been building, the pitch for AI clinical documentation is obvious. As doctors, we spend hours on paperwork. Something can help transcribe and summarize that. A situation where everybody wins. But I've noticed, still using these tools in our clinical setting, that patients are still coming away frustrated sometimes for not getting what they feel they need. Clinical reasoning at most stages is not thoroughly documented. The notes that doctors make are still primarily done so for both record keeping sake, but also as documentation for lawyers. So I've been trying to ask myself a different question. What if the problem isn't the notes and the notes taking too long to type out or write? Maybe the notes is not the problem that we need to solve. Perhaps there's something different. What if the notes is the wrong artifact? I designed something different as an extension to the Clinify software. I've been calling it the clinical decision receipt, and it's got 8 elements. The patient's presenting a problem, in their words, what we, the clinician and the patient, are considering, why we rule things in, why we rule things out, the patient's understanding. This needs to be verified and not assumed, and the idea is that there will be a series of questions posed to the patient, perhaps AI generated as well, or if not, the patient giving back in their own words what they understand. Of course, then obviously the decision as well and why, alternative treatments and decisions, whether or not there is patient agreement with it, and what the patient can go home with as a take-home lesson, what to look out for, what to be careful of, when to return, and what services to return to if that's the case. So the idea is that it's not just a better note. I'm not trying to make a new note-taking software. I'm trying to create a kind of different artifact entirely. I want something that ideally captures reasoning and understanding and shows that effectively in more ways than any consent form ever could, not just documenting what happened from one of the parties involved side. So this is where things get a little bit interesting as well. I had a second realization. If I build this as a doctor-facing tool, I'm still struggling to ask institutions who are typically pretty risk-averse and at the moment are very afraid of AI and understanding where it sits in the landscape of things, to adopt it. And that's not going to be easy. However, I was thinking, what if it came from the patient's point of view? What if the patient had more autonomy in the situation and could request it effectively? The patient walks into the appointment and says to the doctor, I'd like to record this consultation, and if you're happy with that, it'll generate your notes for you. The patient gets an advocate in their pocket, and the doctor gets their documentation. The liability question flips entirely onto the patient. So, this week has been a bit of a tough one, but not altogether a bad one. It's been a good demonstration of identifying when we're solving for the wrong solutions or engineering solutions for problems that either don't exist or that don't get at the heart of what we're trying to solve for. I think we have demonstrated that we're not getting caught up in building just features, but that we are building positive paradigm shifts towards something greater and something potentially game-changing, for want of something far less cliche. I think that sort of sums up where I am with Clinify at the moment. With regards to claim flow, I think it's also been a struggle with regards to trying to debug the same bugs, but also a good lesson in terms of focusing on what it is you're trying to build, what is that core feature, removing the distractions until you get that right, sort of being very clear in terms of your success metrics, working towards that, and then iterating from there. And then with the rejection that we had with our sales app, I think it is a good lesson in terms of being resilient. I think in terms of thinking on our feet, trying to adjust strategically or kind of change the go-to-market approach. So we won't let this week slow us down. We will keep pushing forward.